Since we've got our T pockets and everything created, we're going to go ahead and make sure all of this is center. We're going to go ahead and start with our stitch marks. Now, in terms of stitch marks, you've got a couple different ways to do it. The simplest way, I'm going to show you first, um, uses really can be applied to any pricking iron. However, it is better suited for a round prinking iron. I'm going to go ahead and click on the outside base of my wallet, and we're going to offset the path. And depending upon where your stitch line is, for me, I prefer 3 millimeters from the edge. Some people like 4. You're going to go ahead and offset your path, and you're going to put in the number negative plus your offset. So for me, it's 3 millimeters, so it's -3. And it's going to create this little rectangle inside of your base. Now, as you can see, it creates this line up top. Now, for the most part, we usually will not be stitching that top. So we're going to go ahead and use something called the scissor tool. We're going to cut into this line itself. So we're going to use the scissor tool on that point, and then again on that point. That's what's going to separate this line from the rest of that rectangle. We're going to push delete, and it will take it right off. Now you're going to click on this again. We're going to create the stitch marks. We're going to go stroke. We're going to increase the thickness or the weight. We're going to call it round cap, round joint, and then we're going to do a dash line. Now, for the most part, you're going to have a setting where this is going to have a dash here. We'll say like 5. That's usually how it's going to be set up. You're going to make that here. You're going to go select that and say 0. And then you're going to, here in the gap, you're going to put in your pricking iron grip. So if your pricking irons are separated by 3 millimeters, I'm going to put 3. If it's 3.38, you put 3.38. If it's 4, you put 4. So you're going to go ahead and put that in there. Now, for a lot of times when you have 2 options. You can preserve the exact dash and gap lengths, which isn't necessarily going to line up correctly. If you take a look here, see how it's not necessarily lined up right at the bottom. Let's zoom in. See how it's kind of curving. What we like to do is we're going to select that back. You're going to click on exact dashes, which align to the corners and path ends. Now, the gap here may not necessarily be exactly 3 millimeters, but it's incredibly close. It is kind of a slight price to pay to make sure that everything lines up at the corners correctly. Since now we have our pockets and stitch marks set up together, what we're then going to do is we're going to go ahead and take this. I'm going to go ahead and control copy it, control shift V, and we're going to bring it down. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of redundancy. I'd already deleted the other pockets where we had a little redundancy, so that we can make room for this. Now, we want to go ahead and separate our pockets. And when we do that, we're going to leave a few things, a few remnants per se. So we're going to go ahead and erase that there. Get that out of the way. Our base pocket, erase that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do the same thing here. Create our copy of that pocket. And bring that down there. Now, as you can see, it does leave some holes here and also here. And you're like, okay, how do I get rid of those? Well, the easiest way to do it is we're going to go ahead and click on our stroke line there, our stitch marks, go to Object and Expand Appearance. Then we're going to go ahead and go Object, and we're going to click on Expand. And then we're going to make sure it says Fill and Stroke and push OK. What that's going to do is that each individual stitch mark can now be selected. So we're going to go ahead and click on our direct selection tool, and you see how each one can be selected now. So what I can do is I can actually select those 3 stitch marks and delete them. Same thing here. We can do it again. Select it, Object, Expand Appearance, and then we'll expand it again. Fill and Stroke, selected, and then we can go ahead and select our stitch marks, and we'll delete them. So now we have our template with their stitch marks all perfectly aligned and ready to cut. Now for this one, I'm going to go ahead and also, we're going to go ahead and delete some of these here. So we don't necessarily need to have everything. Let's do this. There, and delete. Now, we want to make sure, now that we have these stitch marks, well, actually we need to delete those too. Let's go ahead and do that. Since we don't need those. Let's zoom in, make our job a little easier. And we're going to delete that. Oh, there's one more remnant. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to create a stitch mark for that bottom part there for our T pocket. Since we still have this square, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and again do the same thing. We're going to offset our path. Create an offset path. Again, same 3 millimeters. Now this time, we're going to go and cut everything at the corners. Then we're going to delete the lines we do not need. So let's go and do that there. This one then, we're going to go ahead and see our stroke and see if it comes out correctly. 3 millimeters. And as you can see, that one does not come out exactly. This one I'm probably not going to preserve the edges, we're going to preserve the gaps. And then what I'll do is we're going to move it like so. Left and right to make sure that we can have these holes line up. Actually, let's do this. Let's see what it looks like if we do the exact gap. Actually, it looks much better. Okay. And then again, we're going to get rid of the holes. Object, expanding appearance. And then we're going to go Object, expand, okay. And then delete these holes there since we do not need them. Okay. And then last but not least, we'll delete that square. And we now have our card template, which is now ready to be cut. In the next part, we're going to look at the second method of stitch marks. which is actually going to be probably better for pricking arts. And then lastly, we'll be looking at rounded edges.